Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lori Clark Show. This episode of my podcast is brought to you with the help of Zoom Us, a video and audio conferencing interface. It's important to know that I'm in no way sponsored by Zoom. I just want to tell you how much I love it. It is very reliable, easy to use, and provides excellent audio and video files that my team and I produce to share the power of story with you. Another non-sponsored, couldn't do without, but just have to tell you how good it is Squarespace. When they say it is the all-in-one platform, it really is true. I go into the back end of my website multiple times a day, adjust things, post podcast, add links, and look at our show's analytics, which all sync across my devices. And when I need an image, Squarespace provides an excellent resource that's powered by Unsplash. Now for my most favorite feature, the Squarespace app. Being a working mom, there never seems to be enough time in my day. So when my daughter's in ballet, I sit in my car and upload, post, and manage everything on my website from the app. It's really cool and seamless. Squarespace is really, really simple and very dedicated to helping me create a brand of excellence. So with that, big shout out to Zoom, Squarespace, and Unsplash. Thank you for helping me tell people's stories. With that said, let's move on to the best part about today, the show. Please allow me to welcome my next guest on The Lori Clark Show. I'm so excited to do this conversation with Amber Jane Smith. She is a mother of two. Her youngest child was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 18 months old. And she has since volunteered for the JDRF, which is a Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. And that is how she gives back. Life is full. Life is busy. She's been a fabulous advocate for this foundation and for her child. I just want to dedicate this to you and say thank you so much. May all the blessings and all the gratitude and joy just be on you because you are making it in the world. And when I heard your story, I was blown away. I know you have a story. I know you have a message. And I want to share that with our audience and anyone who is curious or who wants to listen. So thank you, Amber Jane, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an interesting conversation up to this point. We've had some technical glitches, so we are going to hold and see how long we last on this. Hopefully everything will work out the way we want it to. Let's just talk about your story. So the first thing when we were talking in the green room was I said to you, how do you know an 18-month-old has type 1 diabetes?
I swear by it. I still say it. You know your child. You know your child better than anybody. And his temperament, he was such a happy little man. And he was laughing all the time and would have a great time. And he was a sleeper and he liked to sleep and he'd wake up from his naps always scrapped. He is still to that day wakes up with a smile on his face. He is good to start the day. Any adventure you throw at him, he's there. And it got to a point where he just would wake up crying and he would, want water, cry for water. And at first when you're working, you're putting him in the care of somebody else all day. So did they give him water today? Was maybe we have the water down low on coffee tables. Maybe the water was up on the counter. Maybe he didn't get as much water as he wanted. Definitely the water and the personality change was the biggest for me. That
you took him to your doctor because you had a concern.
Yeah.
Okay. And your doctor immediately tested him?
No, I would say it took about a week for me to test him, to take him in. I phoned my mother-in-law, whose son also had type 1 diabetes. I said, this is what I think. They thought I was wrong. They're like, he's happy. He's healthy. He was happy. He was healthy. Little did we know at the time the battle he was going through. And I would say it took me about a week to stick to my guns and say, this is what I think he has. And the doctor didn't want to, at 18 months, ever diagnose a child with a finger poke, because that has so many variances involved in it as well. He wanted a fasting blood glucose. So we went home that night and went to the blood lab first thing in the morning.
When you do that, so you're fasting, that means no food, no drink.
You can only have water.
And then you take him and then they do the blood work?
Yeah.
When did you get the results?
That day by noon.
That's quick.
Yeah. I had the phone call by noon to be at Children's Hospital, and my doctor wanted me there by 5 p.m. And at that time, I couldn't figure out why the necessity to be at Children's so fast. And it was more that his daughter's endocrinologist at Children's. So she ended up being on my endo team, welcomed us. They had the trauma room ready. They knew we were coming. So it was, I think for him, it was peace of mind. The right person would be looking after him, is what he wanted.
Wow. Well, and with this, you can mention all this in detail to the listeners, but you don't wait when you've been diagnosed with type 1, do you?
No, there was, get him there now.
And why is that? Like some people, they go, okay, well, we'll go tomorrow. We're just going to settle in. We're going to absorb, some information here. We'll take our time. But that's not the case with this. This is not something that you should do that with.
Never at all. And normally is by the time you're presenting those symptoms of the excessive thirst, the frequent urination, he's peeing through diapers, your body's already shutting down because it's not getting what it needs to function. So the sooner you can get there and the sooner you can give them that insulin that will help save their lives, the better off they'll be long term.
If for people that don't know this, let's just backtrack a little bit. And this is what I've come to know type 1 diabetes as. You can add to it or correct me if I might be off somewhere. But my research said that type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease that occurs when the body's immune system attacks and destroys cells in the pancreas that make insulin. It's not linked to being overweight. It's not linked to lack of exercise or anything else. It's just not preventable, and its cause is unknown.
Yes, and no cure.
And if someone in your family has it, you would be likely to get it, correct?
Correct. There is a genetic component to it, yes. Definitely in my scenario, there was a genetic component on both sides. I know numerous type 1 families that there was no genetic component. The autoimmune system just turned on and attacked its own healthy body. And sometimes it's as easy as being a cold or a flu, a virus. And we all know children are walking viruses when they're toddlers and babies. They get viruses everywhere they go.
This must have been hard for you. So walk us through. You get, the diagnosis happens, then what? Because I've done shows with older people. Our mutual friend, Nathan, love that guy. He's just such a lovely human. And he did the very first show on his diagnosis of type 1. And he was just telling me about all of the feelings and all of the things. So let's transfer all of his information and squeeze it into this tiny little 18-month-old body who does not talk.
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. You go into the hospital, you're there, you have no clue. They hand you like this dietary form. They have to give the cafeteria. This is what your child can eat. And you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But I can tell you what my child likes on this list. And then, you get these meals back and they're like too high in carbs. And you're like, what are carbs? Am I supposed to be counting these? Because you have no clue. You've just been admitted and thrown into a big room. And overwhelming is probably the only thing I could say, at one point in time, I had to tell them to stop. Like, there's too many people in this one tiny room. It's super warm because obviously the babies aren't wearing any clothes but their hospital gowns, so it's warm, and there's people, and they're all trying to tell you what's going on. And overwhelming is just, and they ask you multiple times, do you understand what's going on? Kinda. But I think the biggest moment for me was they give you this big 3-inch binder that you take home that basically tells you how to take care of your son during any, instance. The same drug that we give to keep him alive is the exact same drug that will kill him in a moment. So we have to be very mindful of, if we give too much, what do we do to bring that back? How do we offset that? So you leave this hospital, holding this 18-month-old hand with this big binder, and you're like, now what? You want me to take him home and keep him alive? Oh, and give him needles that I don't like myself on a good day. Okay, that's world changing.
Can you tell me about the emotion behind that for you?
Shock. I actually think that the first few, little bit is pure shock. What did I do at 18 months? It is.
The same insulin that I give my son to keep him alive, if I don't do it right, it could kill him.
Yeah. Going back to the day is always the hardest. Yeah. It's you live in, I always say, my famous saying is, you mourn the life you thought he was going to have.
Oh.
You do develop your new normals. But there's no, I can't stress enough, we don't get to go for a walk. There isn't just, let's go for a walk. There is, do you have your backpack? Do you have your glucagon? Do you have low treatments? Do you have pump supplies for if your pump fails? You're always 5 steps ahead. And the one day you think, I don't need to be 5 steps ahead, we're looking good today, be the one day that you need those 5 things. So, it's a different, no longer a carefree lifestyle. There's a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of staying on top of prescriptions, especially stuff for school, low treatments, activity stacks, you name it. We're on top of it, but it's a numbers game.
And so that's exhausting as it is.
And you don't sleep.
You don't sleep.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, we get that multiple times through the night to check him.
Okay, so talk to me about that. So
when you're first diagnosed, it's always recommended that you get up because you're tinkering with insulin levels, right?
Okay.
They don't just bring them down into range. That's not safe for any child. So it has to be a step down progress. So, he was 32 when he was diagnosed. They'll bring them down to mid-20s, then bring them down to the 18s. So you can't just bring them down into range. That wouldn't be safe either. So you're taught to check them at night, especially 18 months old.
Yes.
Right? So, yes. You can't see them. You can't see the behavior changes. You can't see anything. So you set your alarm, 10, 12, and 2 at that time. It was 10, 12, and 2 we checked in. We've now since regressed to 10, 12, and 3 with being on a pump, just because the way the pump works, that we check them at 3 a.m. But you're making life-altering decisions for another human being on little to no sleep. If you wake up at midnight, he's low, you treat the low, you're up again in 15 minutes to check him again. He's low again, you treat him again and check 15 more minutes. But then once you wake to a low, you don't go back to sleep. I don't think any mother would. I think you wake up every hour checking them.
Okay, so, all right. You wake up at 10, 12, 2.
Mm-hmm.
You are checking if he is low, then that means what happened during the day? Do you go backwards?
No.
Or does it matter? No?
Trying to learn from those. So going back in the day helps if you're trying to figure out maybe what triggered the low. But this uncontrollable disease, you can do the same thing, eat the same foods, administer the same doses, and get drastically different results. Because everything affects blood sugars, your mood, the weather, how much sleep you got too much sleep, your emotions, all of that. It affects your blood glucose, not just what you're eating. Did he skip today instead of run? If he was running, he'll burn more sugar naturally. If he's skipping, then he burn less.
So how do you monitor that at 2 years old and 3 years old?
We call it swagging.
Swagging?
Yeah, and I'm not going to swear on your show. Scientific, wild leap. Yes.
Okay, say it again.
Scientific, wild, AS. Yes.
Okay.
Swagger it all the time.
Shooting in the dark.
Overnight, you become a doctor, a nutritionist, a nurse, as well as a mom. You fill all those roles. You're making all the life-altering decisions. And
not to mention, Amber Jane, you have a little boy that's 18 months old. So you've just had a baby. You're not like out of the woods emotionally yourself. You're adjusting to 2 children. This is not easy.
No.
Okay, so can we talk about the emotion? Did you ever feel like a failure?
All the time. I think I cry. You made me cry.
I'm right with you. I'm bawling my face off every time you start.
I am 5 years in. We just had our 5th anniversary. And yes, days get better. Yes, days get... But mom guilt?
Oh.
Every low, every high, everything that happens, you blame yourself. That's just the nature of the beast. So I would say there's not a single week that goes by that you don't feel like a failure.
Oh.
But to no one, you've met Nathan, you've talked to Nathan, they're amazing people. It teaches them resilience, they advocate for themselves. They are strong people.
I have a friend who, his name is Alex, and he is a young man in his 20s. And, he said to me how hard it was to, as a teenager when he was diagnosed, to grapple with the life change of, you can't actually do what everybody else is doing. Your son hasn't known anything different. Nathan is on the other end of the spectrum where he kind of done all that anyway. And he was like, well, I'm just glad to be alive, It's very interesting, but the thread between those stories is it is a life-altering, life-changing thing that has so many ramifications in the real world. You're talking about waking up at 12 and 2 or 10, 12, 2, and now changing it to 3. But what happens if they're ever at a sleepover? Can they go to sleepovers? What happens if they're, right? And you have, so then what do you say? You can't go. And then what? How do you, and where is the support for you?
You adapt, and you become the household that everybody comes to sleepovers for. You have all the kids over because it'd be easier. I'm not aware of any other mom that would be like, hey, let me take your child for you and get up all night, and I'll try very hard not to kill him. You had 5 years to figure it out, but I wouldn't put that on anybody else.
What does the lack of rest do to you and your mental state and your well-being?
Yeah. Mental state is definitely a big part of it. We all can look back at those first 3 months being a new mom. Oh. You live there. Yeah, you live in that world, and you have that fight or flight. I always try is the best way to describe it. Is most people's bodies go into fight or flight.
Yeah.
Moms are always in flight or flight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no taking the foot off the gas. There's no anything like that. But technology has come a long way. And I'd be remnants to not say how much that's changed our lives, because it does monitor him through the night. And especially breaking a leg, I can't get up to check him anymore. So you're relying on technology now to be that one that's alerting you. Okay, he's trending down this fast by, it actually tells you he'll be low by 2:05 a.m. and then you just treat it. So that has changed my life for sure.
So when you moved towards trusting the machine,
so just recently,
we did talk about this in the green room. Not this, but we talked about letting go.
Yeah.
This is not how I would want to let go. And I can't imagine the struggle. So your mental wellness, your mental well-being, it's like you're always on. You're never able to turn it off. You're always, like you said, I'm always 5 steps ahead. And I would imagine when you hear of families that are like, oh, we just packed up and, and we X, Y, and Z, you're just like, I wish. How do you move from a place of, I just want to go to Disneyland without any problem, to, that's okay. This is okay.
You get there.
Okay.
You get there. And that just is experience talking, maybe, that you do plan day things, day trips and adventures, and you make mistakes and you learn along the way. Okay, maybe we should have done that, or we should have packed 5 more juice boxes.
Because they need a juice box, right? So, okay, what happens with that? All of a sudden, the sugar's low, the insulin is low.
Oh, sugar's low, yeah. Right.
Oh, sugar's low? Okay, so sugar's low. Now what?
Typically, you treat. Every child is different, and every scenario is different. How low they actually are, how much sugar they need to come back. As he gets older, he'll need more because he's younger. He doesn't quite need as much as he will as he gets older. And but then that's where the hard part comes in, where you want them to still be a child. You want them to participate in everything everybody else is doing, but to come back up from technically being low, he needs to stop. He needs to drink his juice box and wait 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, you'll retest. If he's come back up, he needs a snack to maintain his sugars. Juice box is fast acting. Any fast acting sugar will shoot him up. But you need something to keep him there, maintain him. And part of that is, a popular one for us is, crackers and peanut butter or granola bar. That'll help keep him up and sustain him to finish off whatever activity we're doing. You just make adjustments, unfortunately.
Well, and how do you manage that, like at a birthday party?
You swag. All the time. How much is a cupcake? It's always a great guess. I don't know, what is it made of? Buttercream frosting, But I'm never going to be that mom that says, no, you can't have it. He's going to always get to have a cupcake. He's going to always have a cake. And when kids ask us, what can't he have? What can't you eat? And the one we always give them, because they're kids, is cookies with poison. You probably can't eat cookies with poison, right? He can't eat cookies with poison either, but everything else he can eat. I said, but your body tells itself what to do. I just do it for him. So we always compare him to Iron Man. Iron Man's on the outside of his body. I said, that's me to him. And that's his pump. Is the best way we can describe it to 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds.
Well, because he's not there yet.
No, he's getting there.
Yes.
Yes.
Does he know can he begin to feel, like when was the age that he could begin to feel like, oh, I need something, or I need more water?
It's funny, not funny, but funny. As you transition through your stages with your kids, different like terrible 2s, and then we all say terrible 3s, and every stage of life brings its own
terribleness.
Yeah. The same with him. He adapts and, changes to. The good thing about, we always say, he didn't know life before that. The only problem is, because he's only known this life, he's adapted to always feeling different. So he's not quite self-aware yet. When he was first diagnosed and he went low, he'd shake his hands, because they would go numb and tingly because he was low. And then he adapted to that. So then there was no longer this hands. Now we find he's getting better at saying he's low. He can actually feel the drop. Sometimes, though, it's a little bit too late by the time he can tell us. By the time he can tell us, he's inconsolable, he's crying. He's getting a little bit better about it, but it's still a fine line.
So then you can see that when the sugar gets to that point, then his behavior changes drastically. Okay. Now he's in kindergarten?
Grade 1.
How does that work?
We were strategic in the school we put him in, and everything was a very thought out plan. I'm a very type A personality, and we put him into a school that was a block behind my in-laws. The reason being is I work in Langley, Trevor works in New West, and what do you do in an emergency? So we put them in school a block behind my in-laws, and that, coupled with the weird, small craziness of being in such a small little community like North Delta, is there was another Grady, and that is the rarest name I've heard. And then to have another Grady in kindergarten, another Grady in French immersion, because we're in the French immersion program, and just got diagnosed as type 1 diabetic. So then the school's like, what do? We have these 2 diabetics. My Grady's not new, he's on a pump. The other Grady is still on injections. They're like, do we put them together? Do we separate them? What do we do? And it was, the teacher requested him. She was amazing. And we had nothing but EA issues, so we had nobody there to watch him. They get promoted through the first little bit of school. So I stayed the whole first month of school, the whole month of September. How I still have a job left, I'll never know. But they are amazing too. And then he finally got a new EA. And the teacher herself took it upon herself to take all the online courses, how to care for him. She made up all her own posters, put up around the school, and she knew him. So when he changed personalities, she called the EA. So it didn't need him to say I'm low or I'm high. She knew. And it was amazing. So going into a kindergarten,
So when you said change personalities, just not like just more like behavior.
Yeah. Just behavior, completely behavior. Highs and lows do completely different things. My daycare provider that's had him since diagnosis, she says he gets a look in his eyes. I still haven't figured that part out. I'm like, well, you're amazing then, because I still don't notice that as he's bouncing down the hallway. I'm like, oh, okay, you're low, you're high, come back here, child.
Right, let me look at you.
Yeah. We used to make him hold out his hands.
And?
Well, if he's low, they're shaking.
Huh.
Yeah, so I always say that I had an amazing kindergarten teacher. I was blessed enough this year and promised by the district that I would not have the same issues I had last year.
How fortunate.
So amazing. So.
Wow. How do you deal with the classroom dynamic where, how do you deal with that?
I actually find the classroom dynamic a little bit easier than, say, real world. Children are very open-minded. They just want to know. They want to watch him get his finger pokes. They want to watch him get his pump changed. Like, we camp with a phenomenal amount of kids, and they all just want to see it. They just want to know. Just teach them. Whereas when you're in, I don't want to say the real world, but adult life, there's misconceptions. And,
yes.
What did you do to your child? One of the first conversations I had was actually with an EA. He works with me. And he said to me, he's like, well, that's why people have diabetes. it's just so much cheaper to go to McDonald's than feed your kids McDonald's. Oh my. Yeah, that face is my face exactly.
Well, I just was I wasn't thinking that was going to come. I was expecting you to say something else.
Yeah, so it's the misconceptions of it. It is, and I would love to ask anybody that thinks that any parent has caused anything to their child. What at 18 months do you think I fed my child to give them type 1 diabetes? I think that's the hardest one for me to get over. What do you think I did? Because I handmade all my baby food.
There is no justification. We already know what the issue is, and we know how it happens. And it's just someone gets this. There's no rhyme and there's no reason. And it's not about, if you have someone in your family, well, maybe you will have it. It might skip a generation or whatever, but you don't know. And also there are people that you said earlier, they don't have a diagnosis. There's nobody in their family. For generations back, they get it. So, it's not that, and it's definitely not about eating fast food, and it's definitely not about the care. But, it's so interesting how, Nathan I don't believe this is part of his story because he was 23, 24.
Yeah, in there.
Yeah. Whereas Alex, it was, what did I do to have this? The shame and the guilt is already there. Nobody needs to contribute to it, right? Like imagine at that age in your 20s where you're feeling comfortable enough to give yourself administer insulin in a back room when you're working.
Yeah, and we will always, and I stand firm that I will not let this stop him. He, and I've been saying this for so long that I actually might not be able to say it anymore because there's now a pilot that's become a pilot with type 1 diabetes. That was the one he was on to. He couldn't be a pilot, couldn't be an astronaut, he couldn't deep sea dive, all for various reasons that would trigger highs and lows. But that's it. And I'm not going to let it stop him.
No, because you know what? We will advance. And by the time he's ready to embark on a career, there might be something where he can, go and do something that they said he couldn't. You talked about the insulin. You talked about at the beginning you're doing injections, and then now, as you move into it, you have the pump which controls the glucose levels. So
it just controls the insulin.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the pump gives him the insulin. So I'll back up a little bit. So a pump is like the best way to describe it is like an IV tube into him.
Okay.
So we preset it to what we call a basal. And a basal is what constantly drips in at all times. Very calculated formula. Still need to change it every month or two, or some puberty days, every 3 days. But that's the amount that constantly drips into him. When he eats, we still have to tell it to give him more to cover the amount of food he's eating. There's still always the constant adjustments, always happening. It rotates every 3 days.
It's on his body?
Yeah. All the time.
Okay, so it goes in his leg, arm, where?
Leg, arm, butt, stomach, wherever he will let us in that move.
It's not a tube.
Depends on the pump you have.
Okay.
So there are tube ones, and we're on what's called Omnipod, so it's a tubeless system. But it's like I'm trying to see if I had one normally with an arm's reach all the time.
Yeah.
It's like a plastic piece.
Okay.
It sits raised on his skin.
On his skin, raised. And then...
It's got batteries and stuff in it, right?
Okay.
It is... I want to show you one now. It's going to bother me.
But don't get up because you broke your leg.
I can't. I've already had to shift positions like 3 times.
I saw you move.
The pain levels. It's pretty thick, but it's tubeless. So when you're dealing with a 2-year-old, because we put him on the pump at 2, it was something that we could stand outside his bedroom and bolus him for because it's Bluetooth. So we didn't have to go into his bedroom. So we didn't have to wake him up. Yeah.
So you can adjust his levels from your bedroom or your outside of his door?
Yeah. So like say if we know he's going low, we'll try and suspend the insulin or reduce it. So when they're sick, they still need insulin, but maybe necessarily sometimes not as much because they're not eating.
No wonder you need a binder.
Oh, it is. But, I say that we're blessed to be at a children's hospital. We have an endocrinologist team on call at all times. So at any point in time that you're, this is what we tried, nothing's working, they will also walk you through what they think you should do.
And is that for everybody? Does everybody have a level of support like you do?
They should, yes. Whether you're done out of, Children's, Stern Memorial, or Abbotsford, I think those are the three major clinics right now in the Lower Mainland, and they should all have an after-hours endo. Yeah.
Let's talk about, the cost of this. Because this is from listening to Nathan.
Yeah.
From discussing things with Alex, who I would like to bring on the show because he's a gem of a guy. Sure. And his brother has same type 1 as well. So his mother has 2 boys. And the costs are through the roof. And he's got to pay for his pump. It's a necessity to keep him alive.
Which is, to me, one of the most heartbreaking things. In Canada, we're very fortunate, we're very lucky that we're not having the same battles as the US is having with the cost of insulin. It is expensive, do not get me wrong. This disease is not cheap by any means. And when you first get diagnosed, they sit you down and they go through, this is what a year is going to cost you. Do you have benefits? Can it cover it? Can you afford it if you don't have benefits? The cost, it's still mind-blowing to me.
May I ask?
Absolutely. So his pumps. So let's just take one thing he needs. The pumps alone are for 3 months, $900 for 3 months supply, and that is if a pump doesn't fail. Or if it doesn't get, because his is Bluetooth, it can get statically charged and fail because it'll zap itself. And we're talking about children that play on plastic slides with jogging pants on. So that's always constantly an issue. Insulin alone is, I think the last time I looked was $169 a box. A box maybe gets you through maybe a month. Strips, when we were on test strips, and they limit them. You're only allowed to have so many a year, which blows my mind because do you think I'm selling these on the street that would allow so many? Because if you're going through a period of lows with your child, you're testing every 15 minutes, but you're giving me, they allow you to average to test about 10 to 14 times a day, which on a good day, you don't need that many. But on a bad day, you have the flu, anything like that, you need them. And to make anybody pay that much money is just, and I can't go without saying that you have technology. I'm blessed enough to be covered by benefits. I have a very good benefits plan through the city. It covers my CGM, my continuous glucose monitor. What blows my mind is that you have this technology that can keep these kids alive, let these parents have sleep, but it costs a fortune. And 3/4 of policies don't cover it. Ours didn't cover it. We had to fight for it. And we were just thankful the employer, the city, was so good that they were willing to help us get it on their plan. So they added it to their plan. And then I guess it was under like a subsection of a specialty device. So we had to have it reclassified. It was a process. We did choose to pay out of pocket to get it because it was a necessity. But I don't understand why we're not covering that.
I don't either.
I'm at the age of 25. Why are we cutting these kids off and saying that pay for your own pump?
They said, when I was doing the research, it said anywhere in some provinces, because it's not the same everywhere.
It is not.
Right? Okay, this is the same. I've done interviews with autism, and this is the same problem that families are having. everybody's different. So what you have in BC, you might not have in Alberta. What you have in Alberta, you might not have anywhere else. So it varies, but I believe I wrote down it's somewhere between 18, 19, or 25 that they'll cut that off, and then you're in it for the rest of your life. So what if you don't get a job that has benefits? It can be $1,000 a month. Easy.
Over. I would.
Over?
I would say over. Yeah. But that depends on also equipment you're using, right? But I cannot understand.
Because are these pumps expensive? The pumps?
Yeah.
How much are they?
I think I think I broke it down to one pump is worth $10 and you wear it for 3 days. But you still have to fill that with insulin, and it takes so many units of insulin to run. Grady doesn't take anywhere close to 80 units a day every 3 days. So we're overfilling it, right, to make it run. Right? So you're already
you're wasting.
We pull it back out sometimes. Yeah, so sometimes we'll pull the insulin back out, reload another one. Try tools of the trade, right? That you got to find every way possible to cover him. Yeah, it's that is the one thing that blows my mind is the cost. I don't know when you did any of your research if you had seen Banting and Best had sold the patent for insulin for $1 because they felt that every child deserved to have the life-saving medication they needed. And then you look at it now, and it's $164 a box.
What happened?
Well, exactly, right? What happened? Where did we go wrong?
Where do we go wrong thinking that something, as you let out in the beginning of this interview, you said, the very thing that I need to keep my son alive is the very thing that could kill him. And you're not being dramatic.
No, not at all.
And tell us, what could go wrong? Like you have probably had some near misses.
We've had a few. The most dramatic one I always try and share is we talked about sleep deprivation, that you're in that fight or flight all the time at night. You're making those decisions at night.
Uh-huh.
So, say he's high and he needs a half a unit to come bring his blood glucose down from 18 Vg to 8, and it normally takes a unit. What if you accidentally put in 2 units? You're tired. You're manually entering it all in. You're manually calculating all of these ratios, and the pumps do help because you have settings in there as a fail-safe. But we had a first instance at school just recently that he said he fell asleep, which obviously he passed out. And what it was is that he spilt his macaroni. He cleaned it up. He threw it away, but he got bolused for it because he didn't tell his EA he had spilt it. So what happens now is that you've given him all this insulin to cover this food he never consumed. So it drops him, right? So there's always those, for instances, that can happen. What if I meant to say, that he was having 10 grams and I put in 20? Because you're putting in that yourself, right? So there's human error and how could you ever forgive yourself, right?
So he spilt his macaroni and said to himself, well, I'm not going to eat that. It was on the floor.
Yeah, floor. Who's going to eat floor macaroni?
But you didn't calculate that in the morning when you were putting in what he needed for the day, because you calculate it when you make his lunch.
Well, I put stickers on everything in his lunch because I still want him to have the choice of what he eats. So I don't sell the pump, but the EA does. And everything has a sticker and they're all color-coded. And they say how many grams each one is. Macaroni is one of his favorites to take for lunch. It's an easy 39 grams, which gives him almost 2 units of insulin. So to not eat anything, well, I'm not saying he didn't eat any of it. He probably ate some of it, but he didn't eat the floor macaroni. And then to go outside and run around and play, he just crashed.
Right, because he was running, he might not have been skipping. If he was walking, and you can't, this is so unpredictable. So for someone like you, who is, right? Like your personality is like organized, structure, give me framework. this is very, very, very disconcerting for you.
Yeah.
Does he feel fear about this or worry or anxiety?
We, at the beginning, when you forget about the modern cars and having Bluetooth and you're having conversations and you forget about your little peanuts in the back, we did talk about it, and it was conversations that were had through family members and everything like that. What happened is he did have a fear that he was gonna, possibly die. And all we did was be more mindful of how we spoke about the disease. So now we can't ignore that fact. We can't ignore he has to be responsible for it at some point himself. So we can't pretend that aspect isn't there. But we do teach him that we take very good care of him. And we are always paying attention. We will always pay attention. And we will teach him how to take very good care of himself. Nathan's, in retrospect, his A1C is amazing. He does a great job of controlling his sugars. Like, that is...
Well, I mean, and he spoke with me. He said, like, he doesn't consume alcohol. I mean, he is just, like, rock steady guy.
Yeah, every type of alcohol does something different.
Okay, that's even worse.
It is.
Because you have mixed it.
Yes, and part of the life-saving drug that we have that he carries on at all times is glucagon. If he's ever to suffer a really bad low or a seizure, we carry glucagon at all times so that we can inject him and save him, essentially is what glucagon's for. You can also use it when they're sick and give mini doses. The hard part about when you're drinking is that your body already depletes the liver of your stored sugars. So if you went low and you used glucagon, but you had been drinking all night, that glucagon's not going to work because your body's already depleted of all that.
Okay.
So you essentially have to teach them to drink responsibly. And who wants to have that conversation with their child? I'm going to tell you how you need to drink, and you need to be smart about drinking.
Yeah, because everybody around them and is doing it differently. And when Grady's a teenager and those teenagers out there, they're like, but I just got diagnosed. What? And it hasn't really been internalized yet. I just got diagnosed. It's all good. I can handle this.
Yeah.
You could die.
Absolutely.
And you wouldn't want to drink too much because that could put you in a big, serious state, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So how do you, food and the diet, what do? You begin to talk about this healthy eating, like, because potatoes convert to their carbs, but they're sugar, and then there's this and that. And so how does it work for you?
Every day is the same as every child. You always want to promote a healthy, balanced diet. With the type 1, the misconception is less carbs because they don't want the sugar. He needs that sugar to carry the insulin to the body.
Okay.
So it has to be a healthy balance of carbs and insulin. So to be honest, at this stage of the game, we are a very high carb family because we need him to eat those carbs. We need him to cover the amount of insulin we're giving him so that he can function. As he becomes a teenager, and we all know that boys will very nicely eat us at home, we will push more of the free foods like veggies. Veggies are absolutely free. More of the high protein foods that can make him feel full without really affecting his blood glucose. So again, it goes back to that saying you're always going to have that challenging of every age group of what we're going to do, how we're going to change it. Right now, we're a bit more of a high carb family.
In terms of emergencies.
Yes. You hope you don't have them.
Right.
That's not very planning. We're on it, and we built a very good village, and that is something that we had done right from the get-go of having kids. We built a village of amazing parents. We camp with them, we travel with them, we do everything with them, and I'm very blessed to have in-laws that had a type 1 son. It is a very different world now with insulins and technology, and it's very different with not your own child. But we're very blessed in that way too, that we've had to call them and we've had to pull in different resources. I had phoned Children's Hospital once. It had a perfect storm of a site failure. He was sick already, and I thought I had it. And I phoned Children's. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I've done everything right. Just making sure, just bouncing ideas off you that there's nothing else I can do. And they're like, you need to go in. And I'm like, okay. what hospital is closest to you? I'm like, if you're telling me I have to go to the hospital, I'm coming to see you.
Well, of course.
I'm coming to see the experts. I'm not going. And she's like, you don't have time. And I said, okay. And then, of course, it's a phone call to my in-laws because you're not taking your other child to emerge.
Nope.
So you always know. You're always mindful when you're having a glass of wine at night and you have him here. In a case of an emergency, can I drive to the hospital? In the case of an emergency, can I get up and respond? And that's always on the mind.
And this is what you're saying is I'm always thinking 5, 10, 15 steps ahead of myself. There's never a time where you have had a break. Have you ever just gone away overnight somewhere by yourself?
It doesn't turn off.
Because you worry.
Yeah. And that's, I think, a mom thing for sure. And, I've referenced the mom guilt multiple times. Mom guilt is terrible. Even when the kids are with other people, you still worry and you still wonder. And, like Trevor has a sore back right now. So, are you taking anything for your sore back? Like I had to take for my broken leg. Because then, like, do you want me to phone you during the night if I see him going low and it alerts me? Do I know that you have, or do you want the extra phone call? So you always have that communication. I feel like I talk to Grady's dad more now than I probably ever did before. So what are you guys doing today? Where are you going? Do you have juice boxes?
Yep. What will you tell a mom who is listening and a dad who's listening? Because when there's mother guilt, there's also father guilt. Let's just call it parent guilt.
Yeah.
What do you say to someone who's feeling guilty?
It gets easier. The disease doesn't get easier, you get better. You start knowing, I did this, I'm right. And you just hone those skills a little bit more. And things, I told you in the green room that we had just had Halloween. We were in Remembrance Day when we got diagnosed. And I couldn't get past Halloween. Like, what do you do at Halloween? Because that was what we just dealt with. And it does. You become an expert and you just hone your skills and you just need to trust them. You know you have them, you know what your child needs, and you do it.
What if somebody says, I'm not a mathematician, like 2 + 2 is chicken? What do you do?
There is amazing online communities that will, and I can guarantee you at any point in time, and I've done it multiple times myself, at 4:00 in the morning, there's at least hundreds of other people up doing the exact same thing you're doing, which is treating low.
Wow.
We're dealing with a sick child. I say use your resources. We talk about, we have these endos on call. I think I refer to my mom friends more than I ever have called my endo team because they're in the trenches with you. They know. So they've been there. And, maybe your son doesn't want chocolate milk tonight. Okay, well, what's your go-to? Ours are Skittles and Dex tabs. Some parents are honey. And sometimes you just need it needs to be brought to the forefront of your brain. Hold on, what do you use for? Oh, yeah, I can use that. And it just helps. So use your resources. It does, you do get better. It's never easy. I don't want to lie and say it's terribly easy. You just adapt. And it becomes, like I said, mourn the loss of the life you thought they were going to have and just change your expectations of what it should be. And all you can do is know that you're going to let them be a kid. Let them have the cake. Bolus them for it. If we're wrong, well, then we're giving a little bit more insulin later to cover the cake. But that's my one thing. I always want them to be kids. Make sure they have the goodie bag. Make sure they have the cake. You can do it in the safety of your own home if you were unsure or worried. But
let's talk about JDRF because they've been around for 40 years, around there. They are the leaders in searching for an end to the type 1 diabetes through research, funding, and advocacy. You are a part of this.
Yeah, we talk about the cost of diabetes, which leaves any parent kind of strapped. And the only way you could really help out is by volunteering, is by giving back, advocating, educating the world about your child. Because the world isn't, people are quite blissfully unaware. I spend a lot of time advocating and educating for him. And I went somewhere and I ran into, one of the actual employees of JDRF, and we were chit-chatting about the mentor program, and she was like, oh, would you be interested in being a mentor? I said, absolutely. Because we're not there to give medical advice. We're not there to treat your child. We're there to help you through the difficult everyday struggles of diabetes. And then it became that, well, what do you mean Grady was 18 months old? Will you come, to our events and be an ambassador for the brand? And so Grady couldn't talk it up by time, being 2, even being 6, he's not going to get up on stage. He'll talk to you about his disease, absolutely, one-on-one, no problem. But he can't give a presentation. So then we started going to little workshops for companies that are, going to donate in the ride or donate the Conquer the Cure and everything. So we started doing things like that. And now I head up their Fraser Valley Mentor Chair program. So a newly diagnosed family gets diagnosed. I follow up with them. What additional resources can the JDRF provide to you? Because not only are they doing education, and technology, they're also advocating. So if you're struggling in a smaller town where you have no support from the schools are saying you have to keep your kids home, because we've all been there where our kids have to stay home because there's nobody there to take care of them. The JDRF will go in there and advocate for you. They will help find resources around the communities that can help you out. So they are a tool that I think not a lot of people utilize.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they are, they were out in Nanaimo a little while ago, and all they did was go and take kids' class and teach them, I'm thankful that I can, my work does let me have a day or two off here and there where I will go into the class and talk and teach them. But it's nice to know that you have somebody as big as JDRF that will and is able to go and help you.
How do you know if your child has type 1? What are the symptoms?
The most common is the water consumption, the frequent urination was a big one for us. We thought, we need to buy better Pampers. Like, our Pampers are leaking through now. It was crazy to diapers and how full they were that we were going through. But it also does mimic flu-like symptoms. They do tend to be tired. They tend to be lethargic. They're dizzy. And, I talked about Grady's personality changes. Looking back on pictures of him, as much as I say he was a very happy, healthy little boy, he went to a birthday party the weekend before he got diagnosed. And when I look at those pictures, you can see it. The sunken face, the dark circles. He had lost a lot of weight. But in hindsight, when you're in the moment, you don't see those things. Flu-like symptoms. And we say just one drop. If your child's not well and they're not getting better, you know them, ask for a finger poke. Every clinic has a blood glucose monitor. They can poke you.
Poke the finger. Unusual behavior, lots of water. Those were the ones that you experienced.
We were 72 ounces of water before lunch. Yeah. 72 ounces. I can't even drink 72 ounces as an adult trying to drink 8 cups of water a day. So
that is a lot.
A lot of water, yeah.
So you're managing.
Yeah.
You're
yeah, we're coping.
Yeah.
Well, I like to say we're managing because he's happy. And as much as I do all these presentations and we went to did this, I spoke at the last JDRF gala. And it was funny because I don't do these often in front of him. So he's not here tonight. He's off at the fish hatchery tonight. And so I did my speech, and it was all about how he got diagnosed. And it dawned on me when I looked over at him, he's wiping a tear. I'm like, did you cry? And he's like, no, Mom, I leaked one tear. I only leaked one. I was like, wow. And I never want him to take it the wrong way that we're sad. We're educated. So as long as if we even help one family, we're doing what we need to do.
What do you do with the sadness, though?
I would say it only comes on severe tired days where I'm super exhausted. But for the most part, I talk and I post. And I post in my group, my support group, people that understand. And sometimes you get this string of, oh, me too. And, you'll see the constant FUD is a lot of our catch taglines, everything right now. But you also get the encouraging words to people that are having a bit better of a day. And sometimes you just need to be like, this sucks. And then once you've put it out there, kind of is like, okay, it sucked. I cried. What do I need to do today? Because you can't live there. If you live there, you're not doing anything for him. I'm not doing anything for myself. I'm not doing anything for the kids around me or even my partners, right? So you have to let it go, and you have to mourn it, give yourself time to grieve it, and also move on. And you have to respect that grief when it comes, because it's not right. It's not always going to be there, but it still has its moments now, and you have to respect it. And you have to give it time, because you can't run on that fight or flight all the time and not expect to be emotional.
How, and this is what concerns me, because I've talked to lots of families who their children have autism, and that's what they say. It's that fight or flight all the time that just destroys the adrenals. It keeps you going. But there seems to be, and maybe I'm wrong about this. This is why I want you to speak to it. Self-care. Like, do you know that word?
No, I have a broken leg.
Right.
I was flu. I had a sore back from a car accident. No, but I am working on it. And believe it or not, the trauma, let's say, of getting diagnosed compared to the trauma of breaking my leg, I did see a trauma counselor, for just dealing with the anger that came along with, I can't do anything. I'm stuck on the couch. I have, this child that needs me. I have another child that's growing up and needs me as well. And we all know to do it. And the moms of autistic kids, I'm surely can attest to this. You know what you need to do for self-care, but sometimes you just need somebody to remind you. And, for a long time for me, it was loud music in the car. That was my release. That was my get through. And I had an hour before I got to the kids that I had that time. When I broke my leg, that kind of shifted. And that was no longer my thing. She's like, find your new thing. Stop and get a coffee on the way home. Do something that you need to do to get yourself there so that you're okay going home. And sometimes it is just communicating where your threshold is at. So, say my threshold's green. I'm good. But there are days where you're up all night and you've not slept and you're not feeling good and your threshold is red. And then maybe those days you do more self-care, more time maybe reading a book or stepping away from the situation that has you in that fight or flight.
How has it made you better?
I've had to let a lot go. I've had to let go of a lot of my type A-ness. Because like I said, you do the same thing, and such different results. So trying to control something I couldn't control. And I'm getting better about it. And trying to let him control a little bit more too, right? One of the first things Dr. Dan had told us was, it's an uncontrollable disease. You can't control it. You just try and manage it. But I'm trying to control it. I can only imagine how he will feel growing up, having this disease control him. So he's like, let him control anything he can. So where does he want his finger poked tonight? Where does he want his injections? He's like, let him control the things he can control. So mine is more letting go of that control. His will probably be more regaining some of that control that he has.
I love our conversation. This has been.
I'm 5 years in. I don't cry at the drop of a hat. You can tell I had rough nights. So
I'm glad that you were vulnerable and able to release your sadness. I think tears are that, where the body is a messenger that's saying, hey, there's something going on. And when you listen to that, I believe that tears are just letting go of some of that sadness that, sometimes can't come out. And when you're just crying and you're talking a normal conversation and tears are just running out, it's just because you just had that space to let go. And I just want to thank you for letting me into this part of your life. That's a very vulnerable, private place, and yet you've done it so well. And I want to thank you for being as intentional as you are. And your story matters so much and is so inspiring, because lots of people can't let go. And you are showing that it is okay, piece by piece, inch by inch. Don't break your leg to do it. But, you know, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where can they reach out to you?
Anytime. Feel free to put out my contact info. I'm always okay with that. I am on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on it all, and I will help anybody anytime of day or night.
Okay. And if you aren't able to reach out to Amber Jane, you can reach me, and then I can reach out to you. You can go to www.laurieclark.ca, or you can, well, when you're there, you can click the button and share your story, and it'll just come right through to our team, or you can just cut all that out and email us at the Laurie Clark team at gmail.com, which is the LORICLARKE team at gmail.com. You can also go to our Instagram, which is the Laurie Clark Show. Thank you.
Thank you for, even taking the interest in a disease that hasn't directly affected. I think you're the first person ever that has approached me that hasn't just been diagnosed, that you're like, hey, I'm genuinely interested. And that's been a breath of fresh air. So thank you.
Well, you've just moved me into another state of gratitude for my health, for my 4 children's health. That's why we do what we do. So I'm, if there's someone that wants to share their story, I've said this to every guest, I will tell this story 100 times.
I'm going to post it tonight. So just so you know, I haven't done it yet. I was waiting and just making sure you're okay with that before I say it. If anyone wants to share their story.
Oh, come on, because the more people share, it's powerful. It's powerful. It's just, we can collaborate together. You don't need to have type 1 diabetes to care, because really it doesn't matter. Every story matters. Your experience has helped at least one person today. And that is the life experience that we can give back. And how can I give back to you? By doing what we're doing right now. And of course, I talked to you and said, look, I want to do what I can. So how I can be involved, please let me know how I can be involved. What can I do? I want to show up. I want to show up for kids, and I want to show up because I believe that no one should have to say to anybody the same medicine that could help my son or my daughter could also kill them, and I have to pay a lot of money.
I like it.
Well, thank you.
Let's turn type 1 into type 9.
Yeah.
Feel good with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will email you names.
Well, I will need you to assist.
I know. I will. I'm always open for it.
I know.
Soon.
You'll be walking soon. Oh, bless you. Honestly, like I said at the beginning, I'm just honestly, like so much. I'm just heaping love on you because I appreciate the time. Your time is precious and you gave it to me. So thank you. And you gave it to all of us and we all thank you. You are very inspiring. Have an excellent evening.
Thank you.
And well, I will. And kiss your son for me.
I will.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.